Have you ever considered jumping ship and moving to Argentina? Today, I'm sitting down with Benjamin Gamble, who's done just that. He's only 21, 22 years old from the UK, and he's moved down to Argentina. He's making money online, he's building startups, and in this episode, we're going to get into his story and his lived experience. Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. We welcome Benjamin Gamble to the podcast.
Great to be here. I've been listening to the My Latin Life podcast for a while. Actually, I've been enjoying it, so it's cool to come on.
I'm sure, man. I've seen you on Twitter for a while. If people, there'll be a link in the description where people can pull up your Twitter, and you have this like black and white profile picture, and I've seen you kind of in the replies and stuff for a while now.
Yeah. I recently started using Twitter a bit more, and not really a big fan of Twitter, but I've been using it more and trying to post more. So yeah,
Not a fan, blasphemy.
yeah.
No, that's good. And Gamble is your real last name.
Yeah. It's a strange last name to have, but that actually is my last name. Yeah.
No, it's cool. It reminds me of like a Rambo or like a I don't know, like a war veteran. It's like, yeah, that's Gamble. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah. It is like everybody does ask me, is that really my name? But yeah, that is my real name.
Cool. So what I would love to kind of kick things off with is just just how's Argentina in general, and how does it compare to life in the UK? And are you happy with what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so I originally left the UK when I was 18. I traveled around a lot, visited like 35 plus countries. And I never really thought that much about Latin America to start with. And then because I went to Mexico first and I didn't really enjoy it that much. And then just one day I just randomly, like the night before, just booked a one-way flight to Argentina, with no plan basically. And then just kind of fell in love with the country and like the city of Buenos Aires, and just like really just being surprised by what I found, because it really reminded me a lot of Europe, and being in Buenos Aires, literally just it feels like being in a Spanish city in the 1980s or something. It's kind of like a time capsule for how Europe used to be.
Hmm. And you're in Buenos Aires now?
Yeah.
Cool. And by the way, for the audience, one thing we'll get to later in the episode, just to tease it, is Benjamin has an idea for a startup or software product in the immigration space that I want to hear about. He hasn't even told me all that much about it yet. Joey Langenbrunner, previous podcast guest, told me I got to speak to Benjamin. I got to have him on the podcast, hear about what he's working on. So that's what we'll sort of be building up to here. But I thought it'd be cool just in the beginning, hear the experience of a young guy who's left the UK and is trying to make it in South America.
Yeah. And I think like South America is like Argentina specifically is a great place for many, many people, not just young people. I think we're seeing it become more and more popular with, people retiring and people, even like midlife, like I recently saw a guy on YouTube that was a police officer in the US, and he just quit his job to move to Argentina, which I found pretty
Tanner,
interesting.
Economic
Is
Front.
that the
He's been
guy?
on the podcast.
Oh, has
Yeah.
he? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I found his
It's like
channel like a few days ago, and
episode 200, 201, something like that.
yeah. That was really interesting to see. But at the same time, like it's quite interesting because Latin America and doesn't make sense for some people at the same time, and people like I think for ambitious people in their 20s, it can actually be quite a toxic place to live, because it does kind of restrict you in some ways, and we can get into that if you want.
Wait, what's toxic? Living in Latin America?
No, I think like if you're like ambitious in your 20s,
Hmm.
and you want to build something big, I think living in Latin America can be great, but it can also be pretty toxic for you.
Okay, please elaborate.
Okay, so like one of the issues is the fact that there is like a very low ceiling in a place like in a city like Buenos Aires. It's very easy to get to the top, and there isn't much space to go above that. Where in a city like New York, Singapore, Dubai, you always not always, but it's a much higher ladder to climb, and it leaves a lot of runway for you to go. And also because like one of the like this is what I tell people. I think life in Argentina is so good, even a bit too good, that you can live so good in Argentina for like a few $1,000s a month that it like many people I've seen it many times just go there and they have like a big vision and then they just become complacent because it's so easy to live a good life for very little money. And I think it's pretty similar to like people that move to Thailand and stuff like that. That life is almost too good in these places. The people don't really see the need to make any more money or grow anymore.
There's billionaires in Argentina too, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. There's billionaires in every capital, but that like what I'm saying is there isn't that many, and it's pretty easy to get to the top in a place like Argentina.
Well, you'd have to be a billionaire to get to the top.
Yeah, I guess.
No, I know you're saying. It's like well, you get a better life a lot faster because
Yeah.
to get like a good life in the UK, you got to be making like 10,000 quid a month plus, and you can have that same really high quality life for maybe like 3,000 in Argentina. Probably you
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
need way more than 10K in the UK, honestly. But
Yeah, yeah, and I like that's the other thing as well. Someone like if you're from the UK and you're listening to this and you're in your early 20s, like I would highly recommend leaving the UK as well. Like that. That's why I left at 18 because I saw the way that the country was going, and now it's even got it. I'm sure you've like seen the new government get elected and the stuff where they were arresting people for Twitter posts and threatening Elon, and yeah, it's getting pretty crazy there.
let's talk about this because a lot of people are listening to this from the US, from the UK, young guys. They're listening to this for inspiration. Should I make the move? They want to hear other people's experience about making the move. What advice would you have for people, for the dreamers?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, the way that I did it was just, I mean, people would say I'm pretty crazy for it, but I just booked a one-way flight, no plan, didn't really have much money at the time. And like, I believe in putting yourself in situations like burning the boats where you have to make it work. There's no way back. And I think that really is the best way to do it. And I think, a lot of people spend their whole lives thinking about doing something and never getting. I mean, this is a very British thing as well, where people complain about the UK, and it's like part of the culture to complain but never actually fix anything or make any changes. So I would just say like, yeah, just book a one-way flight to a place like Argentina, and what's the worst that happens? You go back home and whatever. And like especially if you're in your early 20s, you don't really know what to do, you don't really have any commitments, you've just come out of university or finished school. Like I think that is way better than a college degree.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Especially with just how useless most college degrees are now. It's like you might as
Yeah.
well. We tweet about this. We're like skip college, go spend 2 years in Argentina, get an
Yeah.
Argentine passport. Now you're a dual citizen.
Yeah.
Very cool. If you don't want to do it in Argentina for whatever reason, go somewhere else. Live there for 2 years, 3, 4 years. You get a second passport. That's your
Yeah.
college degree.
Well, I mean, also if you're really set on doing a college degree, just go study in Argentina. It's
Yeah,
literally free. Like it's
that
free,
too.
and you get a second citizenship. So I
That
don't see
too.
why. Yeah, and even if you don't want to get a college degree, like just you can go study Spanish, or there's like many different courses that are like an easy route into becoming a resident of Argentina.
Yeah, yeah, and that the student visas count towards citizenship. They don't in a lot of countries.
Yeah, which is
Like
crazy. Like
in a lot of countries, just say like Spain, for example, I think, or like whatever. This people on student visas that doesn't count towards time towards citizenship. You have to be on a different type of visa, like a work visa or rentista visa, whatever it is. But
yeah.
my understanding is in Argentina, student visas, people on student visas, that counts as time towards citizenship.
Yeah, 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 it does. So you can 100% get citizenship before you finish your degree if you're actually studying in Argentina,
So
depending
it's
on
like
how.
if you're 18, 20 years old, just go down to Argentina, do Spanish lessons, do tango lessons.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yes, they have tango lessons within the realm of school, and you can get a
yeah,
visa with that. And you get a passport out of it.
yeah, exactly. And that's what I would say. Yeah. And it's like, in the US, the UK, Canada, etc. I don't know about Canada, but the UK and the US, you're paying, upwards, close to 100,000, maybe more for this college degree. And, yeah, you're like the education is pretty shit in the UK, at least. So, yeah, I mean, I know that colleges in Argentina aren't that great, and they're like a bit overcrowded, and there's a lot of people from like neighboring countries exploiting the system because it's free. But yeah, it's better than paying $100,000. So
Hmm. And so you've already been there a year, year and a half. So are you kind of, is this something you have in your mind? You're trying to work towards citizenship?
yeah, yeah, like I would eventually like to become a citizen, of Argentina. I think that would be great.
So aren't you like halfway there, more than halfway there already?
Yeah, yeah, but like I didn't I didn't get residency the day I went there. I
Right.
was a perpetual tourist for a while.
Right, right, right. Did you get it? Are you a resident now?
Yeah,
Nice. And did you do a student path or a rentista path, or what did you do?
I actually went through the Rentista path, but I think for the majority of people, doing a student visa makes way more sense than the Rentista path, because the Rentista is pretty complex for what it is. Like the Argentine government are pretty. They want the income to be passive.
Hmm.
Like they're really adamant on it being passive. And I think that for most people, a student visa makes way more sense. It's just that people kind of look down upon student visas.
They just
When
don't want to go to class.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the issue. I think that people associate student visas with going to college, going to some crappy Spanish school, when actually they're not aware that they can get Argentine residency through doing wine classes, the tango classes, like
Wine
asado
class, yeah.
class, etc. And like, I think that's just something that isn't really spoken about. In the
Yeah,
like everyone's just saying
become a
rent is.
sommelier, get a passport.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I actually recommended that to a friend. He loves drinking, so I was like, go learn to be a sommelier in Argentina, and get citizenship in 2 years.
Yeah, this is definitely something that's not discussed enough.
Yeah, and also I was recently in Chile as well, and I think that Chile is pretty underrated. I don't see anyone really talking about Chile, and Santiago is a bit rough. Compared to Buenos Aires, Santiago is pretty rough, and pretty dangerous. But I think, have you ever been to Viña del Mar?
I have not. I've heard good
I,
things.
I've Yeah, that's like an amazing beach city. Like absolutely beautiful. That's one of the best cities I've ever been to in Latin America.
What'd you like about it?
Just like being on the Pacific coast, it's absolutely beautiful. It feels very European. Like it's a very wealthy city. And yeah, I mean, like Santiago is cool, like it's a business hub, etc. Like I would say that, like, compared to Argentina, Chileans are way more business orientated. Like, as I'm sure like dealing with people in Latin America, like sometimes it feels like they don't want money. And stuff can be very hard to get done. Where in Chile, people are like a bit more business orientated, like, they like to talk about business and work, and it seems a bit more like similar culture to the US in that respect.
Hmm. I've never heard anyone say that Santiago is more dangerous than Buenos Aires.
Yeah, like, so like I got there like a couple months ago, and I remember like taking Uber from the airport, and I got like into the city, and I saw like homeless people burning trash to stay warm all around the city center. And then like it just feels super dodgy there. Like there is like the center of the city is kind of like a ghetto basically.
Hmm. Yeah, that's probably a recent development. Who knows?
Yeah, if you speak to Chileans, they say that it's to do with like immigration from Venezuelans and Colombians, and that I think that's why they left the Mercosur um, agreement, because Chile actually left it, so like Mercosur citizens can't move to Chile. And
Really?
they yeah, but apparently Chileans can still move to other Mercosur countries. But like, yeah, and they're like, yeah, I don't know. Chile is a weird place. It's very different to the rest of Latin America. But it's like by far the most advanced. By far.
Okay. And coming back to Argentina, what do you genuinely like about Argentina, or are some observations that you have about how life is different compared to back in the UK?
Yeah. So obviously there is like a slower pace of life, which is it's great and it's bad at the same time. But I would say like the just like number one is the architecture. Pretty much anywhere you go in Argentina, even outside of the big cities, there's just a lot of beautiful colonial architecture, and it just feels very European. People feel very culturally European. And I think that like I remember going to Colombia and like some other Latin American countries, and I just didn't really like it. And I would say that Argentina, to me at least, feels doesn't feel like Latin America. Like I forget that I'm in Latin America. Basically, I just feel like I'm in Spain. And I like people are just way more European minded. Like I love like the culture of like asado and stuff like that.
Okay. So you escaped Europe for the European culture. So there's
Yeah,
got to
yeah.
be some more to it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I also, I love Europe as well. Like that, that's where I'm from. But not the UK. I would say the UK is cooked. The UK is done basically. But there are like some gems in Europe, like the Baltics, like Estonia and Latvia are great for starting businesses. Like Spain can also be great. Portugal, Gibraltar, and some like more obscure places in Europe.
Okay. And sorry, I didn't fully catch that. Are you on the
Yeah.
side that the UK is cooked and done,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
do you
yeah,
think
yeah. Yeah, it is cooked. Yeah, yeah. It's fully cooked. It's done. It's done. I don't think there's. I don't think. I think it's going to be very difficult to recover from the mess that they've made now, and especially with the government just like yeah, it's yeah,
Could you expand a little bit more on that?
on why the UK is cooked.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really follow UK politics anymore because I haven't lived there for a long time. But um, yeah, basically, I remember the last time I was in London and I felt like a foreigner in my own country. Um, it just felt like very very foreign to me that like I think London is now like 31% British. So British people are actually like a minority in the capital city. And there is just like a negative environment there with like tall poppy syndrome, where people are just they try to drag you down. And I like it. It really doesn't feel like a free country anymore. If you say the wrong things online, you can get arrested, etc. It's very depressing. They're like raising taxes. They're like pushing out. Like every entrepreneur I know in London is trying to leave right now. Everyone wants to leave to go to the US, go to Latin America, to go to Asia. Basically, everyone is trying to leave the UK. And I think that there's going to be a huge brain drain, like because all the most successful people that contribute most to society are literally just leaving.
Hmm. So you're hearing this a lot in your local circles in the UK?
Yeah, like people I never thought would ever leave are now looking to leave. And, like a lot of British people do can get an Irish passport. I think it's like over 10% of British people have Irish ancestry. So they can
Hmm.
get an Irish passport. And like the ones that have an Irish passport are usually going to the EU, places like Spain, Portugal. If not, they're going to places like Singapore, Dubai, to a lesser extent, Argentina, Panama City, Mexico, and these kind of hotspots.
Yeah, and it's funny how we kind of kick things off talking about maybe there being a ceiling in Argentina, but I've always been told that people in the UK really feel like there's a ceiling there, and hard to it's hard to
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
get into that next social status group and stuff in the UK.
Yeah, so the UK is a very weird country because it's people say it's like you have London, which is a very rich city attached to a poor country. You know, until a few years ago, London was the richest city in the world. You know, you know, I spent a lot of time growing up in London, and you know, I think there was like almost like, you know, roughly the same amount of billionaires in London as there was like New York and stuff like this. And you know, London. If you go, have you ever been to London?
Yeah,
But the amount of wealth there is just absolutely insane. And you know, there was a reason why all the wealthy Arabs came to London, and it, like for a period of time, it was the greatest city on earth. And then you know, now it's just like, you know, this crime hotspot. You can't wear a nice watch, and people joke about it and stuff, but it's like pretty serious. Like you will literally get, you know, robbed at knife point if you wear a Rolex in London.
yeah. I mean, I went to the UK. I went to England like 2 years ago. I went down to where did I go? I went to Plymouth and Torquay in the
Okay,
southwest, and it was pretty nice. Like I liked it. And then I went up to
pretty
like the
obscure. Why did you go down
yeah
there?
yeah. Long story. Well, I wanted to go to Plymouth because like the Plymouth Rock thing. Um, if you know, like Plymouth Rock in the U.S. is where the Mayflower landed and
Oh right,
the
yeah, yeah,
Pilgrims
yeah,
came.
yeah,
And I went to the museum and stuff. And then I went up to the Yorkshire Dales and like kind of in the all around kind of the Manchester area.
yeah,
And I remember thinking I expected it to seem to be poorer than it was. Like everything
right.
still looked like really nice. Like the buildings were all in really good shape. You had these beautiful stone, like the whole like town would be like made of stone buildings, but they were in like perfect shape and stuff like that. It was actually like really nice. Like I was impressed how nice it was because I was told, it's like, okay, this is where your poor ancestors came from, and I'm like, dude, this shit is like nice. Like
Oh, are
so.
you from Yorkshire? Is your family from Yorkshire then? That's
uh,
where I was born. Actually, I was born in Yorkshire.
yeah.
But I moved to a different place when I was very young. That's why I don't have the accent. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's an interesting place, for sure. But yeah, like England is very beautiful in the countryside. The countryside is amazing and it always will be beautiful. But it's just the cities that are just like terrible now. Like the cities are just terrible.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I think, I think that's kind of everywhere now, honestly, where um, maybe, you know, I'm just kind of speculating here, but it's always been about like the big cities for the past like 50 years because that's where the jobs were and the nightlife and the entertainment and the things to do. But I feel like now we're kind of going into a new era where the big cities are just like crime hotspots, as you say, and just full of like illegals
Yeah.
and like lack of nature and just not that great anymore. And now all the cool people who make money online and have no reason to actually be in some like depressing concrete jungle, and they can actually be somewhere with nature and live on the beach or whatever it is. And now I feel like it's actually the small towns and the second tier cities are kind of having a big resurgence. We saw this at the start of COVID as well, when lots of people moved to like Idaho or the middle of nowhere, and like you know got
Yeah, yeah.
got houses places they would never otherwise be able to live if it wasn't for the ability to make money online. But I'm really kind of starting to see that now because that's the only place left with like the real culture and um, and just like kind of a more local, authentic experience.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And yeah, like I totally agree, and it's like a definitely a growing trend. At the same time, there's something about being in a big city like New York that's just like amazing. Like I love the energy of being in a mega city. And you know, yeah, for me, it doesn't really work being in second tier city. Like for me, it's either like be in the biggest city in the country or be in a tiny town. I don't really like second tier cities. It's like you're either in the middle of nowhere where it's completely quiet, or in the mega city, and like kind of having a mix between those two.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, I grew up in the downtown of major cities, Toronto, Montreal, Boston,
Yeah.
like right in the city on the subway line. And so I
Yeah.
get that. I think you might, maybe like 10 years down the line, you might change your tune a little bit where you're like, okay, I don't need this anymore, type of thing. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've actually heard Montreal is like a very nice city, even to this day. You know, other than winter, I've heard that Montreal is actually like a very, very pleasant place to live.
it's cool. Like in the summer, like 4 months of the year.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, it's cool. It's like got a lot of parks, good
yeah,
food, stuff
yeah.
to do.
It's like London. Like during summer, it is amazing. You know, if you like, at least when I was growing up, like when you didn't have this safety issue, like London during summer is amazing. It just comes alive. You have like all these beautiful parks. You know, like some of the best restaurants in the world, and like it's amazing.
Mhm. And then I guess back to kind of the Argentina stuff. So you've seen it change, I'm sure, in the past year, year and a half, because when you first got down there, it was super cheap. It was like kind of before Milei started implementing all the new reforms. And now there's kind of been the growing pains, right? Where it's actually kind of gotten a bit more expensive. They sort of regulated the exchange rate maybe before you're doing the whole blue dollar thing. You probably still are or something, but now like the exchange rate's much closer. And last time I was there a couple of months ago, I was just doing credit card because I was like, fuck it, like it's
Yeah,
close
yeah,
enough to the real rate. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't have to go to
yeah.
the get the blue rate. But you've seen it change.
Yeah, you know, like when it was like back during the start of 2023, it was like the cheapest country on earth. And you know that was like, yeah, but it was pretty good. It was pretty cool. Like it was a good place to go and like build a business. Like back when it was the cheapest place, it literally was like the cheapest place in the world. Like you know, I used to buy like ribeyes for like less than $1 back then. And just like everything was insanely cheap.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Crema Social. Crema Social is like TikTok for international dating. It's an app you can download right now on your phone, and 3 out of 4 people on Crema are single women. The app was founded in Colombia, so unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Latinas on the app, by the way. So, how does it work? Crema Social is a social meal experience where you invite a hot girl for a lunch date via video call and food delivery. New concept, so you'll have to try it out for yourself, but this is probably the best way to meet Latinas before you visit the country. So if you're in Latin America or planning to visit Latin America, download Crema Social now and start getting dates right away. There will be a link in the description to download, or just search Crema Social on your favorite app store. Have fun, guys. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Bit Refill. Bit Refill is the best way to spend your crypto in Latin America. Purchase gift cards or mobile refills from more than 3,500 brands in 186 countries instantly, safely, and privately. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Job Stacking. If you are a remote or hybrid worker looking to maximize your earning potential, then Rolf Holtze, the author of Job Stacking, guarantees you'll be able to double your income. This is the exact system Rolf has used to take his own income and those of many others beyond 20K a month. So what is job stacking? It's this idea of working multiple remote jobs. You might have heard Rolf, he's worked 5, 7, even 9 remote jobs at the same time before. And by the way, job stacking works equally well for non-technical roles. So no, it's not just for the nerds. So if you're ready to job stack, then book a discovery call with Job Stacking and see how they can double your income in just 9 weeks. In the show notes in the description, there will be a link where you can book a call directly on the Calendly of Job Stacking and be talking with them as early as tomorrow about how to double your income as quickly as possible.
But like obviously, you know, these things have always been pretty cheap in Argentina, but then anything imported, any piece of technology is just insanely overpriced. So I would say it
Mhm,
kind of balances out, because you like for the majority of people, they need to buy some foreign products. Yeah,
mhm,
but yeah, like I mean that's pretty interesting. I'm seeing some people on Twitter kind of talk more about like whether Malay will actually succeed in pulling this off, or not.
I mean, he just abolished the IRS like 2 days ago,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but that's actually kind of a negative thing because it means that taxes will actually be enforced now. Um, so, like, I don't know why people are celebrating this because it actually means that now taxes will actually be like, because I'm sure you know how Argentina works. Like Argentinians don't really pay their taxes, and it's just kind of accepted. But now, like, if he's actually creating like a real sort of like new IRS that actually functions, people they're going to crack down probably and make sure people pay their taxes. And taxes in Argentina aren't low.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he's gonna like make some reforms so that it's a lot less complicated. So they got to do that. They got to like change the rules
Yeah,
too. But they're gonna
yeah,
have to.
yeah. I mean, like Argentinian politics is crazy. Like if you look at like the previous leaders, there was a guy. I think he was like two presidents ago that said things very similar to Malay, and Malay said he's actually one of his biggest idols, and that guy failed. And this was like 15 years ago.
Mhm. And I guess fast forwarding a little bit, so you've kind of got pretty into the whole investment migration, sovereign individual type of space. What was that process for you? What gets you excited about this whole thing?
Yeah, so it was just mainly through like having personal experiences myself and having bad experiences dealing with, like immigration lawyers, dealing with companies that provide immigration services, and thinking like there must be a better way to do this. Because I think the way that it's done now is just so like it's one of the only industries that still runs on paper. Like pretty much the entire industry runs on paper. You know, when you get a visa for a new country, when you get a residence permit, etc., it's like all paper forms. Um, or if it's not a paper form, it's a terrible website from like the early 2000s.
Hmm. And keep going. Like what? So you're like getting into it, bro. Like I see your tweets. You're like
Yeah.
Gibraltar, low tax, blah blah blah. Like you're getting into it.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, that like what got me into this whole space was personal experiences and like seeing how broken the industry was, and specifically more with invest migration. I like remember speaking to people that got like Caribbean CBI passports, and they were telling me how they were with like one of the biggest firms in the entire industry, and they were just telling me they got added into like some group chat and on WhatsApp and asked to send like all their passport information on like some random group chat with like one of the most prestigious companies in the entire industry. And like he would have to follow up for updates every like week, and they weren't communicating with him. And I've experienced this myself with service providers and immigration lawyers and whatever, and like they really just take the piss and they try to extract as much money from people as possible. They're not transparent on pricing. It's just slow, it's bureaucratic, it's unsecure. Like there's people asking you to email like all your personal documents over like email and stuff, and it's just I just really saw problems with the industry, and I thought like there must be a better way to do this. And I think that you know there is so many like especially after COVID, this is like the industry is probably 10x. And like the last figure I think from IMI was in 2019. He predicted the invest migration industry would be $100 billion industry by 2025, but he made that prediction pre-COVID. So I imagine it's already well over $100 billion industry now.
No, there's no way. I mean, if it was, it would be. You'd have to include like the
No, it,
NGOs
it
and
definitely
like
is,
the.
because you don't think about all the Chinese, the Indians, and the Asian market is absolutely huge, but we don't think about it because it's all targeted in Chinese.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah,
Because
I
like
think.
when you, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, if you, because also like if you, like, we're talking about also the US, right? Like with the US and Canada and Europe and those programs that people from the developing world are using to come into the first world. And when you include all of that, like I think it's probably close or over $100 billion now, because every time somebody does that, they're investing like hundreds of thousands of dollars to $1 million. Um, so it's like, yeah, it's a lot of money when you add up everyone.
I'm still trying to figure out how to make some decent money, but you're getting into the pitch here, I can tell. So there must be a better way. Okay, hit us with it. What's the better way?
Yeah, so like, yeah, that was the main issue, like seeing all these problems. And I think, the like also one of the issues is that people bullshit a lot on Twitter, when it comes to this stuff, and I see people just like purposely saying misleading information on Twitter to try to sell something. And I think, yeah, I understand it. They want to make money and they want to like make a quick buck, but I think it does hurt the industry in the long run, because like people are just kind of being sold false dreams and they're being told wrong information that is just like misleading to people. So I think like that's one of the big problems, that I'm trying to solve as well, is just basically give people all the facts to start with so that they can actually make an informed decision. Um, because like my fundamental belief and my mission is to make getting a residency and moving country as easy as booking a vacation online. And I don't see a reason why, getting a residency can't be as easy as just booking a vacation online. And obviously that's like a few years out. But like the way that technology is going, and like the fact that everything still runs on paper, there's really a lot of space to innovate in this industry. And like that was, one of the reasons why I basically taught myself to code, was because, I wanted to build these things. And, I basically had to teach myself to code to be able to do it, because no one else was doing it.
Hmm. Okay, so you're coding now.
Yeah, yeah, I heard you're a developer as well.
I know a thing or two. I'm not great, but I know
Yeah.
a little bit. So what tech stack do you teach yourself?
Just like React, Next.js, TypeScript, like just like, you know, like I definitely wouldn't call myself a developer. And like the way that AI has come now, like, you know, I would say, like, I know a lot of people doing CS degrees and stuff, and like they're already realizing like this is literally worthless. You can build whatever you want now with AI. You like literally with Cursor, with V0, with Claude,
Yeah, yeah,
etc. You can build whatever you want with AI now.
yeah. There's one called Webflow that people use to build web apps. Yeah, so there's a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. Okay. And so what do you want to build? You want to like you want to build something
Well,
for the residency market, or like
yeah,
what,
so
tell me
so
more
basically
about the idea.
we already built a platform, that allows people to get their residencies online. And it basically handles everything. So it's like an end-to-end process that handles everything from, like signing up, paying all the fees, uploading the documents, e-signing the documents, handling appointments, handling updates, and basically from the very start to the very finish handles the entire process. And I think that like right now, like we're launching with B2C, um, and but that's not the limit that I see this going. And I've spoken to a lot of people in the industry and a lot of firms that they're very good at marketing, but you know they're not very good at handling clients. And that's literally proven by like the multiple experiences I've had and people I know have had with these big firms. And you know it's, I think for that, a lot of them just want to focus on marketing and have someone else, have a platform handle all of this like kind of bureaucratic stuff on the back end. Because you know, do clients really want to have to go for a sales call and message someone on WhatsApp? Like, I've never met someone that actually wants to do that. It's like, and especially people in my generation, like I don't want to call someone to buy something. And I think like people in my generation are very comfortable with buying very expensive things online. That was proven by crypto. Like, people just trade like millions of dollars on their phone, and think nothing of it. And people book very expensive flights, they book very expensive vacations, like even buying homes online now. There's no reason why people can't buy a residency online just like they're booking a vacation.
Hmm. Yeah, we were my Latin life. We were one of the first people to just put a buy now button on all the services on our website, and people could just go get Honduras residency or
Hmm.
whatever they want right off the website. In my experience, though, I'll tell you that almost nobody does that. Almost nobody has ever purchased a residency off my website without speaking to me first.
Yeah.
And we only do paid calls, so it's not really like a sales call. It's more like a
Yeah, yeah.
holistic consultation.
Hmm.
So that's kind of, is my business model the most ideal one? Probably not. Who knows? But I can tell you that for the most part, no, even though the services have been up there for over a year, we got the list of services, we got every country in Latin America. You can just order
Yeah.
whatever you want. Almost no one I don't think,
Hmm.
almost no one has ordered it just like without,
Yeah. Yeah.
just like whatever.
And the reason why is that's because the industry needs changing, and we're creating a new path for the industry to basically make people feel comfortable with being able to purchase a residence online without speaking to someone. And of course, it's going to be a transition period. But like it's not just overnight. Gonna like it didn't go like people used to feel the same way about ordering stuff online, right? Like
Hmm.
I was just the other day watching something from the BBC archive about like the founding of Amazon back in like 1997, and people were skeptical about buying stuff online, and they thought they were going to get scammed, etc. And it was the exact same with vacations. You had to call up some sales guy. He sold you a bunch of crap, like a bunch of add-ons, etc. But now, when was the last time you spoke to someone to book a flight? You book it online through Google Flights, Skyscanner, and that's
Hmm.
totally normal for you. And you trust that you're going to get the product that you paid for. And I like that's what I'm saying. That one of the issue why people don't feel comfortable with doing that is because all the information is so misleading. Every time I speak to someone, they're just being told different things by everyone. And you see it on Twitter. Everyone's just saying different things. Everyone's saying a bunch of like crap. And it's like, I can imagine for the consumer how stressful it is and why they want to do calls, because there's not one centralized place to get like truthful information. And the closest thing to that is IMI Daily, of course. But like that's way more inside industry focused. It's not really towards people on the outside.
Hmm. No, I get it. Do you know the dude? What's his name on Twitter? Sovereign something. He's trying to build something similar called like LATAM Plan. Have you spoken to him? Your thing is different though,
No,
right?
is it Sovereign Atlas? That guy?
Yeah, yeah, Sovereign Atlas.
Oh,
So
I didn't
he's
realize he was building a platform for Latin America. But
yeah, he's trying to do something like that too. The thing about it with residencies is there's just not a lot of money there. Like the thing costs like not that much money, for an
yeah, yeah.
individual, usually less than like 3 or 4K for an individual. Maybe if it's a family of four, it gets into like the 10, 12, 15K range. Obviously
Hmm.
depends on the country. Some it's way less. Um, but it's not that much money, right? And then people are only going to do this like one time. No one's really going to get more than 2 or 3 residencies, so you have to constantly acquire the customers, and
Yeah.
obviously it's very expensive to acquire customers to get a pretty low margin product that they're only going to buy once. So I think you have to overcome a couple of these challenges. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So what you're saying is completely true, but that only really applies to like the very low level residencies.
Hmm.
There's like because they like I'm sure like this industry like there's like the low level immigration dealing with like mainly Latam residencies, some European stuff like the non lucrative in Spain, etc. The yeah, like people are making a couple of grand per deal, and there's not much profit in it. But then you have like these higher level programs that basically
The
people are
golden
making
visas.
yeah like golden visas, citizenship by investment, etc. Where people are making upwards of $100,000 per deal easily, and basically also like I just think the way that this industry is going and how big it's getting, like it's also like there is also the path to go down of making deals with governments to help them facilitate programs, exactly what Henley has been doing for the past like 20 years.
Mhm.
plus like working with governments to fine tune these programs. And there's a lot of governments that are open to working with companies, and especially if you're a tech company trying to do something new, they're really open to this. And a lot of countries want to attract entrepreneurs. And yeah,
Yeah, you pretty much
so,
have
so
to go into those to make any
yeah,
money.
yeah,
And then I think maybe on the corporate side too, I think that that could be better where maybe like a company needs to hire or what's it called? Move people to a different country and they need to like open a new office and then they need to like bring over 20, 50, 100 people and then all those people need
yeah. Well,
to
you
do
already have deal to do that.
Deal. Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
called
yeah.
Deal. Yeah, one of my buddies used to work for Deal or still does or something like that. And I mean, they're less price sensitive and there's more volume.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for Deal, it's like the perfect place to expand into, right? Because they're already doing payroll for all these companies, so they can just very easily add on this immigration thing. Kind of like how Stripe did Stripe Atlas. Like it made sense because like many people can't get a Stripe account in third world countries. Okay, cool. We'll give them a solution. Here's US LLC. Now you have a Stripe account, and even if they don't make much money on the US LLC, they're making a bunch of money through people now opening Stripe accounts and paying fees. So like I said, we're starting off with B2C, and we have like a new program launching that's going to be public soon. And I think it's going to change the way that people think about residency, basically. And it's something that no one's spoken about before. And like also, like many companies are like already founded immigration companies are very interested in using our platform to basically streamline their services and not have to deal with all this back end, because it's a much better experience for the customer as well to be able to manage all of this from their dashboard, rather than having to like follow up on WhatsApp and stuff. Literally, I can't tell you how bad the customer services from the largest company in the industry. It's absolutely insane how bad the customer service is. And anyone that's got a citizenship through that I'm not going to name them, but anyone that has before knows how bad this company is to deal with.
Uh-huh.
And somehow they're the industry leader.
And so, did you actually code this thing from scratch in React, or you use
Yeah, yeah,
AI?
not just me. I'm not like some idiot that's like coding some program myself. Like we have a small team, and basically that's what we've been working on.
From scratch, not using a coding tool,
What do you mean?
like not using like a
No, no.
pre-built
So I
type of.
explored Webflow and these different no code builders, but they're
Yeah,
too
not a no
limiting.
code
And
thing. You're doing it like
yeah,
actually
yeah,
with the
yeah, yeah,
from
recoding.
scratch
Yeah, 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 yeah.
with like a
Because
Node.js backend or something.
the issue is with the main issue with like the no code builders is they're too limiting. And also like one thing we really have to focus on is making sure customers' data is secure. That's like a
Mhm.
non-negotiable. And these, we're having to rely on like some no code builders backend,
So
and
you
it's
got to
just
use like some sort of third party plugin or library that like stores the passports and stuff in the cloud.
well, we just end to end encrypt it, make sure everything's end to end encrypted. And like, also like AWS storage, etc., is already end to end encrypted
Okay,
anyway.
so you just hold the
Well,
all the
yeah, like
important files and stuff like in your local like cloud file storage.
no, no, like we have everything set up properly so it's all encrypted. Like even we can't access it. So because
Hmm.
we're a platform, we're not an immigration firm, we're not a law firm. We're like Uber connects the driver, like the taxi driver to the customer. We connect the customer to the immigrant, to the lawyer or the service provider. So we're just a platform. And even we don't have access to their documents. So only the lawyer and the service provider has access to that. And we like make sure that they follow very strict privacy guidelines. So like they're not like downloading any of this, having it on like their personal phone, etc. Which I just think is something that no one, like the main company in the industry is just like putting people on WhatsApp group chats and asking them to send all this sensitive info. And it's just like people really care about keeping their privacy and keeping this stuff secure. Not just sending it on random apps.
Okay, cool.
But like
Definitely makes
yeah,
sense.
that's like we like I think the going into the thing of being hands on with this, and Doing this stuff manually is just like it's not scalable at all, and it's just not the way to go if you want to build something big and change the industry. And I think like the only way to do that is to build a platform, just like Uber did, just like Airbnb did, where you're connecting the customer with the service provider.
Cool. I like it. I'm excited. So let's get to wrapping up. As I mentioned, I kind of have a hard stop. So do you want to let people know kind of where they could find you and just give a little bit of a call to action or share a final message with the audience?
Yeah. So you can find us at becomeperpetual.com. Our company is called Perpetual. You can find me at Ben Hergamble on Twitter. That's my username. Yeah, I'll send you the links after, so you can add them or whatever. But yeah, like if you want to get residents, and you're like you don't want to deal with people like giving you in like untransparent pricing, all the wrong info, etc. You just want to know the price. You want to know what it costs, what documents are required to do it completely online, and not have to deal with all of this crap and it being slow, etc. Then you can check out our platform. We have our first two programs launching soon. So yeah, I mean, also, when will this episode come out?
Mm, like maybe like 3 weeks from now,
Okay,
sometime
cool.
probably like mid-November-ish.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
That works. Cool. Perpetual is spelled the normal way.
yeah, perpetual.
Okay. Awesome. Well, links will be in the show notes. People can check that out. Benjamin, thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cool. Well, this has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Again, our guest today, Benjamin Gamble. And for the audience, quick reminder, please subscribe to the podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to this. Put out 2 episodes a week with amazing guests just like Benjamin, and you won't want to miss an episode. Ciao for now. Hey guys, quick note at the end of the episode here. If you made it this far, you might be interested in working with My Latin Life personally to make progress on your internationalization plan. So whether the next step for you is getting residency in Latin America, lowering your taxes, choosing the best country, maybe a little birth tourism, whatever the next step is for you, of course, My Latin Life can help. We've helped people in their 20s, their 40s, their 60s, because I truly believe that Latin America has something to offer people at every stage of life. So if you want to become our VIP client, if you want to work with Vance, myself directly, book a call. There will be a link in the description. There will be a small fee for the initial consultation, and we do that to filter out the time wasters and focus on the best of the best clients. But if you're listening to this podcast and you made it all the way through the episode, I know you're the best of the best. But we're ready to work with you. So book that call. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the My Latin Life podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one.